which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract for to get paid and do publicity for. This is what you call adult responsibility and accountability. And her actions.
And you can have that in your persona, but when you come out and the freedom of speech was to condemn the very thing that you're paid to build? Are you kidding me?
What if Snow White, one of Disney's most famous characters, became a nightmare in real life? Disney's most recent live-action remake of the beloved 1937 classic is exactly what's happening behind the scenes for all those involved. Although audiences typically flock to anything bearing the Disney name, this time things have taken a shocking turn. Let's start with the most amazing question on everyone's minds. Could Rachel Zegler? It sounds crazy that Disney's newest princess would actually have to repay millions of dollars following the film's disastrous box office failure. But hold on. For this tale is more complicated than the evil queen's recipe for poisoned apples.
So how does it feel to join this elite group of Disney princesses? Can you believe it?
No, not at all. It's unbelievable. I mean, I look at that girl and I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's really quite wonderful to be a part of the Disney family, and obviously to join the league of so many wonderful live-action princesses, but also so many that have been depicted in animation as well. This is the flagship animation that made Disney what it is. And
let's start by discussing the numbers to get a sense of the scope of this catastrophe. Disney spent an astounding $270 million on the film, more than the GDP of some small nations. After all, expectations were extremely high because this was meant to be a contemporary retelling of Walt Disney's first animated feature, a pillar of the company's history. However, rather than being a box office classic, Snow White has turned into a warning. A studio accustomed to making billions from its live-action remakes barely made $87 million worldwide, with opening weekend earnings of just $43 million domestically. This performance was a complete disaster, not simply disappointing, and Disney executives are not taking it well, we assure you lightly.
You're crying on that stage.
When am I not crying in public? It's so upsetting.
Why were you crying?
Oh my gosh, I saw we didn't even see, but I saw the logo and I went, that's my name, Snow White's up there, and I cried my eyes out.
Insiders say that behind closed doors at Disney HQ, the atmosphere is nothing short of complete chaos. The fallout has been so severe that top executives have been holding emergency meetings to try to figure out how it all went so horribly wrong. To make matters even more shocking, rumors are circulating that Rachel Zegler is bearing the majority of the blame. The 23-year-old actress, who was slated to be Disney's next big star, is now being portrayed as the studio's biggest liability. When you think about it, she was chosen to be the franchise's face and the driving force behind the company's next major attempt to update its classics. But now her name is associated with one of their biggest failures in recent memory.
We're still waiting.
You see yourself as the evil queen. You are not evil. You are not evil. You're a queen, but you're not evil. What was it like seeing yourself as the evil queen for the first time?
We did not see the clip, so I still haven't seen anything. But when I was in makeup, just like she said, we got to work with such an amazing crew, and it was just like the best it could ever be.
What precisely transpired then? How did Rachel Zegler go from being a bright young talent to allegedly having Disney's legal team look into ways to recoup some of her salary? Well, it all began with her interviews, which, let's just say, didn't exactly captivate audiences the way Disney might have hoped. Zegler made headlines, and not in a good way, when she called the princess stalker and made fun of the idea of Snow White dreaming about true love in one now famous interview. Didn't do that this time, she added, adding that the updated Snow White was more about independence and leadership than romance. While some praised her progressive stance, others thought she was discounting the original's charm and nostalgia. And let's face it, calling your beloved classic weird is probably not the best way to win over Disney fans.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
However, her remarks regarding the character weren't the only thing that offended many. In a time when celebrities are becoming more outspoken about social and political topics, Zegler also sparked controversy with her strong political opinions. Without holding back, Zegler caused a stir on social media when she criticized former US President Donald Trump, stating that she hoped he and his followers would never experience peace. If that wasn't enough to incite some audiences, she also expressed her support for Palestine in a tweet that said, "And always remember Free Palestine." Although some of her followers could find resonance in these remarks, they weren't precisely in line with Disney's brand that, according to insiders, thrives on its family-friendly appeal. Disney executives were especially concerned about the negative reaction her political remarks caused, especially since they were made at the same time as the trailer for the movie was released. One source even asserted that the studio had to hire more security for Galadoo, who plays the evil queen and is an outspoken supporter of Israel, after Zegler's tweet allegedly resulted in threats against her co-star.
But it's important to speak about her because Disney picked her to be a princess, right? They're doing all these remakes, and they decided they were going to remake Snow White, and they cast Gal Gadot as the Wicked Witch, and they cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White. And it's been an interesting casting because this woman is extraordinarily woke, as everyone is in Hollywood, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. Like, you get cast for Snow White.
Not to mention the drama that goes on behind the scenes. According to several sources, Disney executives were so worried about Zegler's public image that they sent producer Mark Platt to New York to meet with her in person. His goal was to persuade her to stop using such strong language and concentrate on promoting the film. But here's the real deal. Zegler allegedly refused to remove her divisive posts, claiming that she had the right to voice her opinions. In addition to straining her relationship with the studio, this dispute apparently caused friction with her co-star Gadot, who, let's just say, didn't agree with Zegler on several political matters. By the time the movie came out, the conflict off-screen had virtually taken center stage itself. So what's left? If the rumors are accurate, Zegler may face a legal battle that could alter how Hollywood conducts business. According to business insiders, Disney has been considering using morality clauses or PR performance triggers in Zegler's contract to recover some of their losses. Although this kind of action would be unprecedented, it is not completely out of the question given the high stakes. A reported loss of over $100 million. Zegler's public blunders have made her an obvious target for criticism, and Disney is working desperately to reduce the damage.
Good. Says Rachel Zegler hurt the film's box office with her actions in since-deleted comment. This is the exchange. Somebody at the top says, by the way, who's the first comment? Right.
But let's not misunderstand. The Zegler is not the only target of criticism. The movie itself has received a lot of censure for alienating its primary audience. The choice to substitute CGI-generated magical gnomes for the iconic Seven Dwarves turned off fans of the original. Some saw this as a reaction to actor Peter Dinklage's criticism of the film's depiction of dwarfism, while others felt that the attempt to modernize the story came at the expense of its heart and charm. Whatever the reason, the end result was a movie that fell flat with viewers on nearly every level. And then there's the issue of marketing, or rather the lack of it. According to some industry insiders, Disney's promotional ticket sales didn't start until 2 weeks prior to the release date, which some saw as a sign of low expectations. The campaign was abnormally quiet, almost as if the studio had lost trust in the project before it even touched theaters. Even the movie's premiere was trimmed back, with no red carpet interviews for Gadot and Zegler and restricted press access. Rather, with creating anticipation, the rollout felt more like a damage management operation.
The film received backlash for various reasons in the lead up to its release. Zegler had called the original Snow White movie dated and weird and said Prince Charming was a stock.
As the dust settles, it is evident that the fallout from Snow White is far from over. Disney is currently at a crossroads, considering the risks of modernizing its classic tales and its future direction. Rachel Zegler's path forward is equally uncertain. Will she be able to recover from this PR disaster, or will her career as Disney's Golden Girl end before it even started? This is where the story takes an even darker turn. Disney has responded to this whole mess in a way that is nothing short of nuclear, and it appears that the Mouse House is leaving every method available to salvage what remains of its reputation. But let's not mince words. This isn't only unsuccessful film, let's focus on Disney's alleged damage control strategy. It concerns a public relations catastrophe of epic proportions. The fallout from Snow White has revealed cracks in the studio's ostensibly unbreakable empire. And Rachel Zegler has found herself at the center of a corporate firestorm. Imagine being chosen as the face of a billion-dollar franchise only to have your own studio allegedly ghostwrite your apologies and micromanage your every move. Since it serves as an excellent example of how not to initially, there is a suggestion that Disney employed a specific media consultant to follow Zegler on her press tour. Yes, you read correctly. A consultant whose responsibility it was to keep an eye on everything she said and ensure that she didn't say anything else that would start a new social media craze. Not to mention the rumors that Disney's public relations team actually ghost-wrote parts of her public regrets. These were calculated, corporately sanctioned statements meant to quell the "fires, not sincere mea culpas." According to one insider, Zegler's apology posts were so meticulously worded that they could have easily been penned by a group of lawyers. If accurate, this suggests that the studio is in complete panic mode and will stop at nothing to preserve its reputation, even if it means putting its top lady in the firing line.
Literally no clue. To conclude that, and I love Platt's first saying, "You really want to do this?"
Yeah.
I love his first
That's
saying,
right.
"You really want to
That's
do
right.
this?"
Yeah.
I love that.
However, let's take a moment to discuss those apologies because, in all honesty, they seem to do more harm than good. Rather than calming the waters, they only serve to fuel the fire. Fans criticized Zegler for being robotic and insincere, and it didn't help that the posts were posted at a ridiculously convenient time, just as the backlash was reaching a fever pitch. Critics claimed that the apologies felt more like damage control than sincere regret, and the internet was quick to call her out on it.
Words talk, numbers scream. People are screaming. Disney, get it together. Who is the Disney's customer? You talk about this all the time, Pat.
And Zegler was obsessed with avoiding criticism. The film itself was collapsing more quickly than a ship. Without a captain, Snow White's box office receipts fell by more than 60% by its second weekend, a drop so sharp that it sent shockwaves through Hollywood. For comparison, poorly performing live-action remakes like Dumbo were able to retain a larger portion of their audience in the second week. But Snow White was like, the film was nowhere near recovering its enormous budget by the end of its second weekend, and let's not even discuss the marketing expenses, which reportedly added another $100 million to the tab. In the world of blockbuster filmmaking, these kinds of losses are the stuff of nightmares. Audiences couldn't leave it quickly enough, and the global numbers were equally grim with a total take of just over 100 million.
About Israel and Gaza, I don't care at all. I care a little bit more about Rachel Zegler having like an underlying amount of contempt for the intellectual property. Like if you're
This is where things start to balance out. Insiders in the messier business have begun to assign blame, and the blame game begins in full force. Some claim that the true issue with the script was that it made an excessive effort to update the plot, alienating both new and current viewers. The loudest voices are those accusing Zegler of being responsible for the film's demise, saying that her contentious remarks destroyed it before it even had a chance to succeed. One studio executive reportedly went so far as to say, "She torched a billion-dollar brand in less than a year and we paid her to do it." Others contend that the marketing campaign was a complete failure from the beginning, failing to create any genuine excitement for the film. It hurts, and it's not only the Disney executives who are considering Zegler's case, including several of his co-stars, have been noticeably silent about defending her character. Gadot, who plays the evil queen, has mostly avoided the drama, but some fans have conjectured that there is tension between the two actresses. Keep in mind that Zegler has made headlines for her pro-Palestine views, while Gadot is an outspoken supporter of Israel. This ideological conflict reportedly created a tense atmosphere on set, and it's easy to imagine how that tension might have permeated the film's promotion. One anonymous source even asserted that Disney had to assign the two stars separate press schedules to prevent any awkward situations. Whether that is true, confrontations can nonetheless make you shudder, just by their appearance.